Hi everyone, Robert Villanueva here. This week I want to talk about hiring a staff person, whether it's an assistant or someone that's going to help you, whether it's on the field, off the field, whatever that may be. What I want you to do is I want you to look at what you're looking for as far as an assistant or, for that matter, a staff person is concerned. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to identify how many hours they're going to work, what the salary is going to consist of. But I want you to take it one step further, because everyone has a challenge with this. And what's the challenge? When you hire an assistant, there's always that fear in regards to, am I gonna make enough money? Can I afford this person? Do I find myself in a position where I'm gonna have to not only hire this person and fire them almost right away because I can no longer afford them? There's always that financial risk and or obligation that we always find ourselves in. What I want you to do is, going back to what I was talking about, is looking at the number of hours, what their salary is going to consist of. But the one thing you're going to do different that a lot of other people don't do is I want you to look at with what 6 months worth of hiring this person would end up being as far as the cost factor is concerned. What's that investment look like? So what I want you to do is I want you to set aside 6 months worth of that person's salary, or what you're expecting that investment to consist of. Why do I want you to do this? Because it puts you in a security situation, a safety blanket, if you want to call it as such. Because we all been there, we've done that. We've had that month, 2 months, or heck, even sometimes 3 months where no business comes together, some deals fall apart, and next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So what you'll now do is, of course, you'll have some savings set aside for this person. You don't touch that money. As a matter of fact, what you're going to do is you're going to continue to add to that. Every transaction, you're going to set aside X number of dollars. How much, you ask? Well, you'll have to determine what that person's salary is going to consist of. I'll give you a very basic example. Let's say the person is making $2,000 a month. Now you're going to look at how many transactions you close. If you're closing about 20, 25 transactions, you're probably closing about 2 a month. Pretty simple, right? If you set aside $1,000 from each closing, you should be able to cover that person's salary. Or you can also look at it from a percentage standpoint. What percentage of your average check would you need to set aside to pay for that person's monthly salary? Now keep in mind, you don't want to overshoot. If you did 18 deals and your goal is now to do 40 deals, well, don't base it on that. Base it on what you did last year. So at least you have a ground floor, if you want to call it as such. So now you're going to have 6 months of savings. Every single closing, you're going to go ahead and put some money aside as well. So now you've had the salary portion covered on that. All right, Robert, so I got the money. Now what? Well, what I want you to do is I want you to go through a hiring process. This hiring process is I like to call it as a 3-step process. In the 3-step process, of course, you're going to go through, you're going to do the job description, you're going to do the posting, wherever it is. I don't want to say irrelevant. It's of course important, but that's not what I want to focus on. You do the posting, you start getting applicants that start submitting their resumes. Now, what I want you to do is, in this 3-step process, is I want you to identify a person who can help you with the hiring and the interview process. I don't care who it is. It could be your broker, it could be the agent right next to you, it could be your spouse, it could be a significant other, it could be a business partner, whoever it is. There's going to be 2 people that's going to go through this interview process, or 1 person that's going to go through the interview process, a total of 2. Step 1, you get all the resumes in. In that very, very first round, you're going to have the other person, in my case, I'm going to have my wife go through, and she's going to screen all of the applicants. She's going to telephone interview them, just 3 to 5 questions, and it's going to identify 10 to 20 applicants that ideally is going to be identified again based on the resumes. Well, the reason I want you to go through that is simply because of the fact when you're hiring somebody, you talk to them initially, you do that phone interview, you can eliminate a large percentage of those people. Now, who are you eliminating? You're eliminating the people that just don't speak the lingo, okay? Or they're too casual, or they just don't fit that professional image. And you can hear them, you can hear that, okay? So you know what I'm talking about. So that very first round, you're gonna have somebody else go through that interview process over the phone. It'll save you a lot of time, trust me. Each one of those interviews should be about 5 to 7 minutes. Don't invest too much time. So you have 10 to 20 candidates. Now, round 2, you're gonna have the opportunity to bring in about 5, maybe 10 of those candidates to come in person. Now in that second round, you're still going to have the other person. In this case, for myself, my wife's going to go through and she's going to interview them. Okay. Now in that, you're going to now start to eliminate people based on, unfortunately, their appearance, the way that they actually, approach themselves. Give you a silly little story of recent. We just went through a hiring process of some staff people, and in that second tier, the person ended up showing up after doing a great job on the phone interview. The person ended up showing up in flip-flops. I mean, come on, you're coming to a professional environment and you show up in flip-flops, you're out. So those things end up showing up. Now in round 3, now it's my turn. Now when it's my turn, I'm going to go through and I'm going to interview the top 3 candidates. Now, not saying my wife's time is less of value or less of importance, but as you can see, she's done the brunt of the work. Now, put in front of me 3 ideal candidates. Now, with those 3 candidates, I'm going to go through and I'm just going to keep it very simple. 2, 3, maybe 5 questions, 5 to 10 minutes each. When it's all said and done, I do the 3 interviews, and usually that's about 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes at the absolute most if I do it efficiently. So the entire interview process, I personally have only invested maybe about 30 minutes of time. This is why it's important you get somebody to help you when you're going through that process. Now, once you've gone through that 3rd interview process, you're going to get together with the other person and you're going to rank them. And how are you going to rank them? You can put whatever you want. You can rank them based on appearance, presentation, resume, ability to perform. You could do 1 through 5, and then I'll now rank them and I'll say, this is my number 1 candidate, my number 2 candidate, my number 3 candidate. I won't tell the other person. I have them do the exact same thing. If my number 1 candidate lines up with their number 1 candidate, boom, that's it. We're done. We hired that person. But sometimes there could be a little bit of conflict. My number 1 person could be, in this case, my wife's number 2 person. My wife's number 1 person could be my number 3 person. We'll go through and ideally, because we rank them, 5 points for that one, 4 points for this, 3 for that, 4 for this. Next thing you know, this candidate is 23 points as an example. Well, now you go through the entire interview process. You've identified your person, and of course, now you simply job offer. So here's the thing. So you've now hired somebody. Okay? In this particular case, obviously, my audience is speaking to realtors. Our job is 5 key things, and we've talked about this in other videos. Number 1 is working on our skills. Number 2 is prospecting. Number 3 is doing late follow-up. Number 4 is negotiating contracts. Last but not least, number 5, going on appointments. That's our job. That's my job. Okay. Now, why am I saying this? Because everything else needs to be delegated. That's where your assistant comes into play. Now, as far as the everything else, what you're going to do, and you should have already done this before you interview the person, is you're going to come up with a task list. That task list is not so much the job description. It's a task list of what you would like that staff person to do. It could be things like ordering signs, ordering termites, ordering a septic, calling for this, setting up an appointment, all these other things. So you're going to go through and create a task list. Now in that task list, you're now going to create a schedule. Now I get it, they're not going to do every single last one of those things every single day. However, you could still create a schedule. Now if it's applicable, great, they do it. If it's not applicable, no biggie, cross it out. I would encourage you to put it, whether it's on an Excel spreadsheet or something that's going to be where they're responsible to either check it off, cross it out, whatever it may be. I personally have my staff people do it on an Excel spreadsheet. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you got to do all of these activities. You check off what's completed, you cross off what is inapplicable. Pretty simple. Okay. Now the reason I do this is simply because of the fact that I want to be able to hold that person accountable. However, we know there's other stuff that's got to get done separate from what's on the schedule. So your staff person is going to be looking at 2 primary areas. This will probably be about 80% of their job. The second area is going to be their to-do list. That to-do list is growing. It's every single day there's something new. It's not on the calendar, or on their schedule, I should say. So now they have a schedule that they're following, and then number 2 is their to-do list. So I wanted to talk today a little bit different in regards to, of course, talking about adding staff. For whatever reason, the last 30, 60 days, a lot of my coaching clients have been in the process of hiring assistants, and I figured now is a great time to talk about this because it feels like as if I'm kind of a broken record in regards to this topic. Hopefully that was helpful. Again, Robert Villanueva here to be of some service and to be of some help. Hopefully you got some tips. I'll see you at the top.